Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of my top tips on coping with and overcoming anxiety. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone again that I am not a doctor and these tips come from my own experiences and how I was able to overcome debilitating anxiety. If you want to know a little bit more about my story, go to part 1 of this series and watch that one first, where you'll also learn 8 tools I use to cope with daily stress and anxiety. I'll put the link to part 1 in the description below, but for now, let's get right into my top 3 tips to overcoming anxiety. My number 1 tip is to feel what you're feeling. You're feeling what you're feeling for a reason. Anxiety is fear, and that fear is telling you something. It's a signal telling us that we need to pay attention. What is your fear telling you? Is there shame or guilt there? Maybe you believe you're not ready to function in society right now, or maybe you're scared of what it might be like if you did. Try sitting with your emotions and hear what it's telling you. Understand what is going on and don't feel shameful about feeling your emotions and sitting with yourself. I find that it can be helpful to have a sense of gratitude to your body because it's signaling that there's something going on that needs to be addressed. Ignoring these emotions and putting bandages on it can sometimes make the problem worse because the symptoms come out sideways, which is what anxiety is in the first place. There are suppressed emotions there that must eventually come out, and if they go unaddressed, they might come out in the form of illnesses like depression, anxiety, weight gain, addiction, the list goes on. This brings me to my next tip, which is address the fear. This takes time and it depends on where you are in your own journey. It can take a few months, it can take years for some people. Some straightforward, helpful ways of addressing the emotions behind anxiety or depression is to talk to someone. Asking your doctor is a great place to start. They might refer you to a psychologist or psychiatrist or both. Talk to those who are close to you and who fully support you. Just talking to someone or maybe writing in a journal can help you bring up underlying emotions that we may be ignoring. Sometimes we use anxiety as a way to not function, out of fear or to avoid something in our lives that we're afraid of. Now, I don't mean that we do this consciously, and this can be vastly different from person to person, but it is worth asking yourself, what am I avoiding? For example, during the times when I felt my worst, I was in many ways suppressing my creativity out of fear. I was afraid to enter the world as myself. I was afraid of doing well in school. I was afraid of getting a job, and essentially I was afraid of both the success and failure that inevitably comes from getting out of my comfort zone and taking risks. Anxiety was a way to avoid all of that and put it off because I can't be expected to worry about all of that if I can't even function, right? So this brings me to my next tip, which is to trust yourself. When we trust ourselves, we trust our fear, the resistance we feel, and we can listen to it without getting in our own way. I know fear can be so overwhelming that we just panic and want to run away from it. So instead of listening to our intuition and trusting it, we try to ignore it. We tell ourselves this is all in my head, or maybe we shame ourselves and tell ourselves we shouldn't feel this way. Sometimes we might even have loved ones who shame us and tell us that we're being over the top and need to calm down. All of these things can be painful and confusing. I want you to know that it's okay to trust your body because your body works tirelessly for you every second of every day with your best interests at heart. Sometimes giving it a little love is all it needs, and when we love ourselves and trust ourselves, our bodies start to respond differently and our outside world starts to change as well. When we trust ourselves, we allow answers to come up. Is there something I'm avoiding? What kinds of emotions are being suppressed? What do I truly feel right now? What is this anxiety doing for me, and is it working? What isn't working anymore? Maybe anxiety needed to be present for a little while, and it worked for a time. Anxiety and fear is natural and necessary at times. These are just a couple of questions I like to ask myself. One last thing I want to draw attention to is that those of us with anxiety usually have a hypersensitivity when it comes to awareness. This shows up differently for everyone, but generally we're hyper aware of our surroundings or we're hyper aware of our bodies. This is a mark of intelligence, and we do live in a scary world where there are dangers left and right, and we do get various illnesses as human beings. Being hyper aware of these dangers is absolutely terrifying. This does not make you crazy. So ask yourself what is really going on and what kind of emotions are underlying this anxiety and panic. These are tough questions that force you to face yourself and your fears, and it's not easy. Over time, I learned to love my anxiety, and that means loving myself, because anxiety is really just your body's intelligence telling you something, and it's up to you to find out what that is and work through it. Dealing with and overcoming anxiety is not a battle. It certainly feels that way when you feel like you're dying every day and you find yourself in and out of doctor's offices, urgent care, or the ER out of pain and fear, but it is not a battle with some outside force. There are no winners and losers when it comes to anxiety. It's our bodies working for us, showing us that we need to pay attention to ourselves and we need to pay attention now. So listen to your body, care for it, and investigate what it is that you need. We must do the work and hold on to hope, most of all, that we're going to be okay and we can keep moving forward and get better. That's all for now. Feel free to talk to me in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer any questions. Otherwise, you can also find me on Twitter. The link is in the description. Thank you for watching. Please give this video a like and share it if you found it helpful, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.